Josh McDaniels, your time is up.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Jimmy Garoppolo. Your time should have been up. I'm sorry, Ziegler. You don't know what you're doing. This is no longer the JV Patriots team. This is no longer the JV New England Patriots team. It's a fresh start.
Yeah.
It's a fresh start, and it's a fresh start here as we get into our newest segment here at Styles and Watkins Sactown Sports. And we're going to break down the Raiders. And yesterday was a dark day. It was a dark day. It was Halloween, and it was scary hours. Yeah. Okay, shout out Drizzy.
Yeah.
And now it seems a little bit better for the Raiders.
Yeah.
Now you can fully tank, or you see if, what do they call him? Mustache, Aidan O'Connell with the crush stash. Maybe he's got it popping. He looked good in the preseason, did not look good in the game he started, and they decided to no longer go to him. Maybe it's time.
I think so.
Maybe it's time.
I don't know how you could look at Jimmy's performance on, what was that, Monday, and just not try and at least re-look at the situation. I mean, you have to reevaluate just about everything after a performance like that and how they've been playing these past couple weeks. I mean, the Bears loss is almost inexcusable. That's almost been forgotten.
It was terrible. It was terrible. They had us thinking Bagent was the guy, and then it really looked bad once we found out the next week that he wasn't the guy. And now I literally Googled Raiders QBs 2023. They haven't even listed Brian Hoyer, so I don't know if they secretly got him up out of there on the low.
Like, you're with the other Patriots guy.
You're just gonna have to moonwalk on out of here. Annie, are you okay? And hopefully the Raiders will be okay now that they've moved on. And a lot is said about Mark Davis, and he's not a perfect owner at all. I think they have weird connections to the Cowboys. I know Jerry helped get them to Vegas, and I think that the way he handles things can be a little Jerry-esque.
Yeah. He learned from his dad.
Right. So, get about the kitchen. You know what I mean? Just make good decisions and let other people do their thing. So maybe that's the start of this. I don't know who they get. There's been a lot of names about Jim Harbaugh who might actually work out because Jim has a cheating scandal going on in Michigan.
Jim almost left for the NFL last year. He almost joined the Vikings.
Well, that's what happens, right? When something goes down, I don't really want to deal with this mess. I'm just going to mob out to the NFL. So Jim Harbaugh, Raider fans, are you into that? A couple different guys. I don't know. I don't know where they go. Yeah. And then what happens? So they decide to go with Antonio Pierce, right, who's Super Bowl champ with the Giants and a Pro Bowl player as well. So they decide to go with him. And now the question is, and they go with Champ Kelly as an interim GM. The question is, what happens if we see a repeat of Rich Bisaccia and they sneak into the playoffs, right? I don't think this would happen.
Let's not put that evil out there.
even they go on a run,
right?
Then now the question would be, well, you messed up with Bisaccia when you didn't move forward with him. Are you going to do it again? Or are you going to let Antonio Pierce rock? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, they almost have to do their due diligence because it's like in terms of looking around at other people, even if it is a successful season, whatever that looks like. And Antonio Pierce clearly, shifts the locker room. I think they still have to look for that long-term goal or that long-term guy. And I'm not saying Antonio Pierce can't be that.
Right.
But this Raiders situation has to get cleaned. Like obviously Raider fans would know better than me, but just how long has it been since that franchise truly was on stable ground? Not like, okay, a year or two of success, but like legitimately, okay, you guys are building towards something. You could argue it's been since John Gruden's first stint in the early 2000s. Like the level of instability for this franchise is truly King's-esque.
Honestly, you know when it was, and he has since had a very interesting career, whether that's on the football field or off. But honestly, it was those years with Jack Del Rio. That was the most
that's
stable.
Where it was stable. Yes,
that was the most
stabilized.
Stable.
Because even that was like 500 or a
you
little bit over.
You had Derek Carr pre-injury, Latavius Murray.
Right.
You had Khalil Mack for some of that.
Yeah.
You had Cooper as well. So that was when Raider fans thought we're in the mix.
Moving in the right direction.
Right. We are moving in the right direction. You were excited to watch. And then the foot gets broken. Right. Exactly. The foot gets broken. Khalil Mack gets moved. Amari Cooper gets moved. And then after that, it just gets a little rough.
Yeah.
Rough in the paint for the Raiders. But, it's this is what we talked about, right? Because you couldn't continue to stay in this weird situation.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is, aren't they technically still paying John Gruden?
Yes, they are.
So
that's the problem.
So a lot of people,
I believe they're paying McDaniels for the next 4 years.
Yes.
As well,
so a lot of people thought that the Raiders would be stuck with McDaniels because of that. Yeah. But that embarrassment was too much. That embarrassment, whatever that number was, that they have to pay John Gruden millions and millions, John Gruden and McDaniels, millions and millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. Mark Davis said, I don't care.
Yeah.
I can't get flamed in the group chat anymore.
Yeah.
That's what
that's
this
really
is worth.
What it came down to.
That's what this is worth to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's so bad in that situation. And I don't even know where the Raiders would look because, frankly, yeah, that's a fantastic point that they're already paying two coaches because I was going to say they need to look for a program builder, but I think that's what they've tried to do with their last two coaching contracts is I think what Gruden had didn't he have like a 10-year contract or something like that he signed?
Yeah, it was 10 years, $100 million.
Yeah, and then McDaniel signs for 6 years. And clearly, I mean, the idea is a good one, again, to try and build somebody that's like, we're going to hire you and we want you to build this thing in your image for the foreseeable future. You have full control. You have years of stability, but it's led to the situation they're in now. So almost I wonder, will they go with a guy more inexperienced and more possibly short term or low risk, high reward in the interim, like in the next year or two, because they're paying those guys and almost wait to get off of that salary,
right?
So that you can then kind of hopefully not make the same mistake, but go about the same process.
Well, that sounds like a good situation for Antonio Pierce if he's able to get it done.
Really does.
Because some of the other names, Jim Harbaugh. That might be different because Jim Harbaugh has all the money in the world already, and now he might have to get out of Dodge with this Michigan cheating scandal.
Yeah, Pete Carroll situation.
And I don't know if you saw that video. It was bad. I don't know if it was from last year or whenever, when the assistant coach is on the sideline, literally looking at their sideline, figuring out what they're doing. So it's
insane.
It's bad. It's Astros bad. Thank goodness the Astros aren't in the World Series again. And we'll talk a little bit about the World Series later in the show as well. The other name that we've been hearing that I don't know, man. The college coaches scare me with no experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Harbaugh would be different. I don't think I'm in on Lincoln Riley.
I would not be.
I don't understand if you haven't won. I understand if you've won at the highest level in college. Sure, that makes sense. But I don't get why you would go with somebody who hasn't, with this amazing quarterback. He's been at USC a couple years, and they're starting to tank and flake and whatever is going on there. I don't get the Lincoln Riley thing.
It does give me, and maybe it's because they're both Oklahoma guys, but it does give me a little bit of Cliff Kingsbury.
That's what I'm
vibes,
saying.
Where it's just like, okay, yeah, he's the hot young coach who's running the stylish offense in college, but like you said, there's no track record of like real sustainable success there. Like Lincoln Riley has had the fortune of having some amazing quarterbacks in his program, and that's really led to a lot of his success. I mean, look at USC this year. Actually, if you want anyone to ask any USC fan, I don't think they're too happy with the results of that team this year.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the right move. To me, again, the Raiders don't. You could just look at the Raiders past. It's very Lane Kiffin, very much so. And like, it might not be. Who knows? Everybody's their own individual person. Every situation is different. It might not be, but you have to look back at your past and try and not make the same mistake that you made in the past. And it just feels like it's way too close to that Lane Kiffin situation. And it might not be, but I think that the Raiders need something more established. And the thing is, it's kind of crazy because that's what they've just about made every mistake in the book. And so it almost is tough experiment to kind of go back and look at the previous mistakes, because you could argue John Gruden was somebody who's almost the opposite of Lincoln Riley, where he's well established, you have like a track record of success, and that didn't work out. So I don't think the Lincoln Riley thing is a good idea, but at the same time, at this point, you gotta look at every option.
Right. Well, and both Big 12, but Lincoln Riley was Oklahoma, now USC, and Cliff Kingsbury was Texas Tech.
Right.
Both had generational quarterbacks. Yeah. One had what we believe to be a generational quarterback in Caleb Williams, and one could possibly be the GOAT.
Yeah.
And neither of them have won at a high level. So I don't understand why that would why that would change anybody's thought process in terms of, okay, now they're going to win with even harder competition and even better quarterbacks. And now you have to deal with money. In college, you kind of have to deal with it now with the NIL.
Right.
So I don't get all that, but I think the Raiders are moving in the right direction. I don't know, and we can get it going right now to the YouTube chat and 916-339-1140 on the text line as well. Will Jimmy G ever throw a pass in the NFL again? Over, under 5. We got to get to a break. The question is over, under 5. I will get Chris's answer and Nate's answer when we get back. Styles and Watkins, Sactown Sports.